So, hello, everybody. We are in the building. We are back for our final live chat, girl talk chat of the year, y'all. 2020 has been so exciting. It's been so crazy. We did all this in the middle of a pandemic, and I just enjoyed every week with you guys. And I have a longtime friend of mine and guest on our show with us again tonight. She's been here a couple of times. She is a moderator in our organization. She has done so much with Girl Talk Inc. And we've dipped over in her organization as well, Battle Ready Wives. She'll tell you guys a little bit more about that when it is her turn to speak. But I just want to talk about her for just a second, you guys. Miss Abigail has an amazing testimony. I'm not sure how much of it she will share with you guys all through this time. But she has been with me and empowering me this year, 2020, with my marriage. Her program, her platform is geared toward women, not only current wives, but also future wives. Just getting ready and getting your mindset in the prayers that you pray for these husbands or for these future husbands or for your current husbands, that we had to pray. And that became a real life thing for her. And she really just maxed it out. So I am so proud and so honored to have Miss Abigail Alexander on my show tonight for probably the third time, because I just cannot get enough
I
of
lost
her
count.
spiritual insight. It is so good. When we talk, guys, outside of Girl Talk, so this is not the only time you see us together. We talk on the phone, we text. So me and Miss Abigail have a really good relationship, and we have some things going on right now. Whether it be spiritually, whether it be with our business, or just, just physical stuff. So she is going to add to your life tonight. So I ask you guys to lean into her and really listen to the things that she says today and take notes, because she will be dropping gems tonight, guys. So anyway, Miss Abigail, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself up on tonight.
Uh, you are so funny. You always keep me laughing. Well,
It's true.
it's yeah. I mean, I do have a passion for marriages. I felt like it was a God-given passion, and it's a passion to see marriages strengthen. I believe God is doing something in this hour, that He's rising up a lot of kingdom marriages, and that means, if you're already married, and strengthen those marriages, but then also those that are coming together. I believe He's even doing that as well. But the enemy is attacking marriages. And if we are not prepared for it, he is going to take us out and take us down. That's why we see such a high rate of divorce in marriages now, because a lot of people are going into marriage unprepared. And so it is my mission, my heart, my passion to help women not make the
Right.
mistakes that I made. But I believe the mistakes that I made had a purpose. The pain had a purpose, and it started my ministry, and that's Battle Ready Wives. And the whole idea is just making sure we know how to pray for our husbands, and not even after you walk down the aisle, even before you know him, you can start praying for your husband to some levels. But
Yeah.
we have to understand, as women, we have a level of authority, we have a level of influence in our husband's life. And if we don't partner with God, we're going to partner with the enemy. And so you need to know how to partner with God, how to pray for your marriage, and let God's glory be shown in your marriage.
Absolutely. Wow, that's good. We already into it. So y'all got just a little spicy taste of what y'all have to get tonight. She is on fire already. So I talked to Abigail about this topic the last week even. I think I gave a really short notice, y'all, because that's kind of how we roll around here. But we were talking about just marriages and being ready. And I'm not talking about the conventional thoughts that you guys may be having. I'm talking about being equally yoked tonight, to be on the
Mhm.
same level, the same page as your spouse. And the trouble we can get into when we're not on the same level spiritually as our spouse. So I want to dive a little bit into that spiritual foundation, why it's so important that we're on the same level spiritually as our
Mhm.
spouses. Abigail, can you tell ladies a little bit about why spiritual foundation and
Mhm.
religion? I know that Christianity or being a Christian is a relationship with God, but I know that sometimes as a world or as a people group, we group this into a religion. But when we run
Mhm.
into people, they may be a different religion. Why is it so important to be on the same page when it comes to religion and spirituality?
Well, the most important thing is the Bible says, "How can two walk together unless they agree?" And so
Mm-hmm.
in some relationships, the level of agreement is necessary. If it's just a casual relationship, we don't really have to agree on like everything. Even in a marriage, you don't have to agree on everything. But that's the
Right.
foundation right there. How can two walk together unless they agree? And so in the confines of a marriage, which is the most strongest covenant there is. And so
Mm.
you don't want to take that lightly. You want to make sure you guys are in agreement on at least the solid foundational stuff. There are going to be some things that you won't be in agreement with, and that's okay, because then that's where we learn how to respect others' differences and stuff like that. But when it comes to spirituality, depending on how important it is to you, it is going to affect your relationship some way or the other. And so there are
Mm-hmm.
some, spirituality may not be a big issue for you. And you know what? That's okay. Everyone has a choice to live their life however they want to. That's fine. But as for me and my house, we serve the Lord. But
Right.
but let's just say, even if you guys are, not as super spiritual, that may not be a big issue. You're not super
Mm-hmm.
into like going to church a lot. But if the both of you agree on that, that's fine. There wouldn't be a friction. Because what happens is there's a certain level of expectation that you will have
Mm-hmm.
in that relationship. So if you're on the same page from the get go, okay, we cool. Unfortunately, sometimes there may be a cases whereas you both started out as non-believers and then one becomes a believer and the other one doesn't. That's a whole nother ball game, but that's not an impossible situation. That is, it's hard, it's not easy, but it is a situation that can eventually be worked out. But the goal is you want to be on the same page. And so the more information you have before you get married at the beginning, making sure that, hey, we're on the same page about these things, and just making sure there's an open lines of communication and not us just expecting, oh, it's just going to work out. No, because
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be some questions that are going to pop up. What if you have kids? If you're a different religion, or even in Christianity, you have to be careful because there's so many different denominations, and some believe this, some don't believe that. Even that, you want to be careful because when it comes down, you got kids, and it's time to baptize the children, and they
Right.
talking about sprinkling water, and baby talking about a baby baptized. Mm-mm, you
No, we
know,
don't do that.
baptize
Right,
means to
right. It's a
submerge, but we
lot
ain't
of
gonna get into
stuff.
all of that theology and all of that thing right now. But even stuff like that, you can differ, and that can cause friction. You may have one that may have like a strong religious background on one end, and then the other end, and then so what do you do with those children? Sometimes them poor babies gonna be confused.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mama does this, and hey, some people may have made it work, but if you want the best out of your marriage, you want to make sure you are on the same page with that. Spirituality, one wants to go back again. It depends on your level of desire for spiritual, like how much that affects your relationship. And I'll use myself as an example. It's very important for me. Everybody know, like I'm a woman of faith. I speak faith, I think faith, I walk in faith. Everything for me is faith. And that's not to put anyone down. That's just my personality. It's all about the word of God. That's who I am. If you're not, that's fine. That's fine. But that I'm just using myself as an example, and that's how I am. And so certain things is like non-negotiable for me. And here's a key
Exactly.
thing for us as women, why it's important, because we're supposed to submit to our husbands.
Mm-hmm.
And
That
so,
I want to
go
say
ahead.
something real quick while you in that. I know a lot of times, like I'm so glad you're going down this part of submission because women are scared of that word. So when you're in that
Honey.
relationship with that man, and like you said, he may not be the same belief as you, and you find out
Hmm.
later, like y'all already in there, y'all got kids, and you found out that this man is a Muslim or a Hindu or it's witchcraft or whatever the case may be. That might be an extreme, but I want
Yeah,
to be extreme because sometimes that's what it
there
feels
are some
like.
out there. Yeah.
Polar opposites, right? And so when you in that, and then a lot of women end up compromising. So what happens when you're trying to figure out, hey, I need to submit to this husband, but he's not
Mhm.
Christian or he's not following the path that I feel like is justice for me and my life and my life values. That gets kind
Mhm.
of tricky. What do we do as women when we trying to figure out, hey, we supposed to be submitting?
Yeah, now if they're unbeliever or a whole nother different religion, the level of submission, it varies because
Mm,
we first submit to God. And so I would
mhm,
love to talk a lot about submission because it's one thing that kind of irritates me a lot how the church presents it, and it's wrong. because it's
Mm,
supposed to be both of us are supposed to be submitting first and foremost. It's not just the women submitting. It's because he said at the beginning, he's like, submit one unto each other. Then he goes down to say, when wives, submit to your husbands, husband
right.
love your wives. But that's the thing, we both submit, but how we submit, it looks differently. So it's really easier to say, because I think in that same scripture to the bottom it says, wives, and again, wives, respect your husbands, husbands love your wives. He had to tell the men twice to love us. That's all we need. Please love us.
Yes.
But what did he tell the
Right.
women? He said submit first, then he changed. He's like, respect. I didn't realize submit and respect was one and the same. I know it might seem like, well, how
Mm.
did you know? But it didn't click for me. It took me a little minute, okay? But that's the thing. We both submit to each other, but for the men,
Right.
submission looks like loving your wife, putting your life down for hers. Submission for the women looks like respect. Honey, you got to
Mm.
respect that man, even if he ain't respectable. And that's the vice versa. You got to
Ooh.
love that woman even if she ain't lovable. She might be a nag, but guess what? You still gotta love her. See, people ain't
Mm.
ready for that type of talk. We ain't gonna do that today. But
They're
people,
not ready for that one, sis.
girl, no,
We gotta
but
come
this
back.
is why this is important. That spiritual aspect is important because we are supposed to submit to our husbands, and not out of like he's putting us down or anything like that. But the thing is, we like to feel secured. As women,
Yeah.
we're wired to feel secured for the man to lead. And if he leading you to hell, you don't follow him, because I can only follow you but so far. If now I'm
Right.
living for Christ,
Exactly.
I can follow you, but only for an extent. And so even with that, it's gonna be hard if they're not a believer, because it's some levels of things you cannot follow. And I'll tell you what, like for men, going back to that submission thing, respect is so important for men. It's like you
Mhm.
telling a man up and down you love him, and if you disrespecting him, all he's hearing is wah 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 wah, because you disrespect him. It's not about you loving him; it's about you respecting him. And so
Yeah.
respect is also trust. If there's no trust, there's probably little to no respect. And if a
Right.
man doesn't have that, that relationship is not going to succeed. You can think of, even if
Wow.
whatever relationship you're in right now. Now, this is a gem I'm gonna drop for y'all. I know for a fact, whether you're in a casual relationship, whether you're in a marriage, a committed relationship, whatever it is, if you can think on any time that you disrespected that man, I can promise you can look back on some situations where he went out of control, he left, he did whatever. What did you do? And it's not really pointing fingers, but a lot of times we do things that is disrespectful to men and not knowing.
Mm.
And trust me, they act all hard and stuff, but they can't take it, okay? They can't.
They pretty little babies. Wow, that's so crazy. And that kind of goes back to the whole thing of choice. When you making your choices and you making your decisions and you going back to your submission, I'm submitting to somebody. I need to be very careful who I'm submitting to. So
Yeah.
those choices up front and those thought processes that when you dating and you, going through the process of dating and courting and picking your mate before you
Hmm.
lock them down and get that ring, you need to be worried about what you're getting ready to submit from. Because some people get so
Yeah.
in love and like, oh, he's cute, he's fine, he does this and that. But what are you getting ready to submit to this? That's a lifetime of commitment to
Yeah.
somebody who you may not like, who's doing some crazy stuff that may not line up or agree.
Right.
And we talking about being equally yoked, and not only religion, but in stature as well. I mean, we can go down the gamut. Financially, is he on the
Hmm.
same page as you? Does he love the way that you love? Does he come with the same amount of energy that you come with? Is he got a
Hmm.
driven mindset? Like, oh, it's so many things to get to it. I know
Yeah.
I'm just putting more stuff on you, Abigail, because you already killed it with the other stuff you just
No,
said.
you're fine. No, I just
But
want to
it's
say
just
real
so
quick.
much, to think
Yeah.
about. So speak a little bit too about that process of like when do I start trying to dig into religion, or when do I start digging into like the deeper things with a relationship? Do I start when we first start dating? Like, what does that look like in real time for
Yeah.
our
I
folks?
mean, I say be the sooner the better.
I agree.
Some of the first couple questions you need to ask.
Yeah, brother.
You know,
What you got going on?
and you can't be asking vague questions. This is for Christians now. If anyone else, I'm sorry, my information might be a little limited. But if you're a Christian and you can't just ask, "Oh, you believe in God?" Honey, even the demons believe in God. You can't ask them that. The demons will go to church too and be comfortable. Okay, so you got to be a little, and you can do it. You can do it kind of like on the slide. Like, okay, so what's like? How would you describe your relationship with Jesus?
Yeah.
You can't just kind of, do, and it's different ways you can do it. You might, maybe you don't want to come off a little hard and it be maybe not the first date, but man,
Yeah.
at least the first couple of dates, we need to talk about this
Yeah.
because it's very, very important. And I'm gonna go back to submission again real quick because it's so important.
Mhm.
So important because, and it's not to beat you over the head with submission, but it's understanding your roles in the marriage. Now, and you have to submit and trust this man because he's going to be the leader. Women were not meant to lead. The first time women
Mm.
went and stepped out of our place, not, let me correct that. Don't mean you can't lead, but in that
Yeah.
confines of that marriage, the man is the leader. Please understand that.
Exactly.
And not the last time, the first time a woman stepped out of her role and made a decision as a lead, as a head, we got what we got now. That's, she got it.
Exactly.
She stepped out of her role,
All
you
right,
know,
Eve.
right? But it's all right. I forgive her. It's great,
Love her, though. We love
But
her.
because we all make mistakes. But just to be honest, submission is literally, and the thing is, submission isn't even conditional.
Right.
Is not really conditional. On the point where I'll say to the extent is if they are doing something that's in contradiction to the word, that's a complete no-go. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because remember, first we submit to God before anyone else.
Right.
So understand that. But in the confines of the marriage, when we're submitting, it's like, listen, he can be driving off the cliff and be like, I guess we're going off this cliff, Jesus. But I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. Couple of things gonna happen because I'm still in that car with you. Either some
Right.
angels gonna come by and stop us from going down hard impact. Like your trust have to be so solid in God. Like, listen, he about to run off this cliff. Okay, well, I guess you gonna meet me on the bottom, Jesus. Okay, cool.
Right. The
but
trust.
I'm
Wow.
joking, but that's what it is. And it's going to be
Mm.
hard, especially for us independent women. We've been handling business and stuff, single moms and stuff. Like that ain't easy, but that's what's required of us. But it's
Right.
not so much you trust in that man as you trust in that whatever happened, God gonna got your back. It gonna work out for my good
Wow.
wherever this goes. But
Right. So
but
I'm trusting that God in you. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? If I can't
mm-hmm,
trust God in you, then we got a problem. It's a red flag. That's a
baby.
red alert. That's a red flag. That's a
Listen, honey,
problem. Yeah.
and I'm sorry. I need you to know how to pray in tongues. I'm sorry. I need you to know. I need to know that you got a direct connect access to God. And
Right.
it's okay if you don't pray in tongues, but as for me and my house, honey, we
Right.
need to make sure we got that direct access connection where we prayed up and everything like that. And so, but yeah, that's the key thing. You have to be able to trust the God in Him. And if you can't
Mm.
trust the God in Him, I'm telling you, it's not going to work. And
Wow.
the only if it may seem like it'll work, I think at the most what would happen is you'll just be in that marriage miserable. You'll be in that relationship
Mm.
miserable, putting on a
Absolutely.
facade like everything looks good, but inside you're dying, inside you're lonely.
Yeah.
That's no easy place to be. So you need to be
Mhm.
able to trust the God in Him, not him, because they're gonna be sometimes they don't listen all the time. Like they don't. I mean, like you gonna do that? Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I know what I'm doing. Okay. Then
Right.
look, something wrong happens. You be like,
All right. It's so crazy because that was what I was going to ask you next is like what are some of the collateral damage that can occur. And sometimes a lot of people think about like children being affected and stuff like that, but the damage it does to your psyche and your mental health and your
oh
spiritual
yeah,
health to be drugged through a marriage when the person is unequally yoked to you is, oh
mm-hmm.
my God, the collateral damage goes on not only for you but for your children and then their children. It creates
Yeah,
generational curses, right?
curses, it's
And just
cycles. Yep.
continued
Mm-hmm.
cycles just going on and on of what that abuse looks like. They may not be physically putting their hands on you, but to drag somebody through and to suppress who you are for many, many years of your life is
Yeah.
definitely detrimental to your mental health. To be
Yep.
someone that you're not. And
Yeah.
that's showing up in spaces that you don't want to be in, having to deny your faith when you really
Mhm.
want to do something, when maybe you want to pray to God, you want to go to church, you want to read the Bible, but your spouse is like
Mhm.
not supportive of or laughing at you or making fun of your religion or who
Mhm.
you believe in or what you pray to, that's your
Yeah.
life value. That is very devastating. So it's more than just effect on just, your children, the obvious physical collateral damage, but onto your psyche as well. Um,
Mhm.
and so, and on the flip side of that, when you in a good relationship, and you meet up with that nice guy, and
Mhm.
also not only is a nice guy, he's a spiritual man, he's a godly man. Talk a little
Mhm.
about what that picture looks like too, because I mean, but we didn't get to talk a little bit about that too. But talk a little. I'm gonna flip it around to the positive side. What does that look like
Mhm.
when you get a chance to be in that type of relationship that's not toxic?
You can trust that, and no one is perfect. Even in a seemingly yoked relationship, there are going to be some challenges. And so,
Hmm.
like, some of the challenge, like, so in my marriage, the challenges is, I'm more like non-denominational, like Hillsong, Elevation Church. That's me. My husband is like, quartet. He's, like the typical black church. And I go there and I look lost. I don't know what to do. I don't know to do the two-step stuff that they be doing. I be feel like completely out of place. And so, and that is not necessarily unyoked, but that was like kind of like a challenge. It's like, okay, well, this is just not you. I'm not used to this. This is not my type, my style. And so just learning how to kind of like respect those differences. So I said that just to say, like, there are gonna some there might not everything might not be perfect. So I don't want you to expect, like, okay, well,
Right.
we yoke together. No, there are gonna be some differences that you both have to learn how to work with, just kind of respect and work with
Exactly.
each other. But when you can trust that this man hears from God, and sometimes, and it, and honestly too, being yoked together doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be a spiritually mature. What you're looking for is that they have a heart for God, and that they at least hear from him, that they listen. When me and my husband was dating, I remember something. I think we were talking about something, and I'm a pretty stubborn person. I'm gonna let you know, when it comes to the word of God, like, I am 100% stubborn. I'm not ashamed about it. But
Right.
I'm usually pretty good to correction. So that's why I'm so stubborn, because I know if you point something out, I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna work this. Oh wow, I didn't know I'm gonna work this out. But when I'm right, oh, I'm right. And the only person that can change my mind is God himself. And I can't
Right.
remember what it was, but it was something I was like, nah, fam, like, I'm not down with it at all. And he didn't say nothing. I think he didn't really say, he's like, okay, cool, he didn't like really push it. All of a sudden, I was just at work one time and I'm like, why my heart feel like softened towards this idea? I think it was us going somewhere. I was like, no, I don't want to go here. I want to do this. I want to go over here and do that. And all of a sudden, I was like, well, it wouldn't be bad if we, go over there. And I stopped. I was like, he prayed. And I called him. I was like, did you pray about such and such? Because I'm telling you, when I'm stick on something, I'm stick on it. And only God himself can change my mind.
Right.
That gave me peace, knowing that, one, he has a relationship with God. He prays to God. He also hears from God. Because
Mm.
when you have that, you could at least trust that. And even if it's still, like I said, he doesn't have to be like super, like, like, oh, well, he needs to at least be this maturity. I won't necessarily say that, because the things God can do in a person in just a little bit of time, you'll be surprised. He'll just switch over and be even more spiritually mature than you are. So,
Wow.
God can do that. But I'm just at least saying, like, do they have the heart to grow? Do they have a heart to listen? And so when I saw that in my husband, I knew that I at least can trust, like, at least I know he hears from God. And if he ain't
Mm.
doing me right, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it to my father, go straight in that prayer closet, and handle some business. That's just what I'll do. And sometimes I ain't even gotta tell him nothing. I'll be like, I'm gonna tell my daddy on you because you wrong. And then there are gonna be sometimes he corrects me. I'll be like, oh, my bad. But still, you gonna tell him
Exactly.
something though, but but that part of it, because then, ladies, you can rest. Then you feel secure. And I don't know if you realize it or not, but that's how we're wired. We're wired for security. And if we don't feel secure, we get anxious. We get crazy. That's why we try to do everything on our own, because we want to feel that security. But the
Right.
comfort when you know that you can trust your husband to take care of you, not just financially, but just spiritually. If you don't feel like praying, can he pray? I mean, even just
Right.
a little bit. He ain't got to pray the house down, but can he at least tap in and have a relationship with God, where God can
Right.
communicate with him and he can do that? That can be able to do that for each other. That is golden. That's ideal.
Right. To have somebody on that level with you, because a lot of times I think, especially as African American women, and I know that, I know that it's other people that are not people of color that are watching, us
Mm-hmm.
right now today. But I think as black women that we have that stigma, oh, I'm an independent black woman, can't nobody tell me nothing. Like I got this. Like if you, if you want something done right, you do it yourself type of mentality. And so we
Mm-hmm.
take that and kind of run with it, like take it all the way to the hill. But it's good when
Mm-hmm.
somebody can stop you and tap you on the shoulder and say, I got this, babe. I'll help you. I can do
Yeah.
this. Like that's the kind of things that you need to be looking for in a mate.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they don't
Yeah.
ever step up and they allow you to run the gamut of this house, run the house and water pants and just sit back and chill. Oh, well, she got it. My
Yeah.
wife got it. My girl got it. She'll take care of it.
Mm-mm.
Like, then
That's
you
the
have a son.
problem.
Yeah, then you have a son. So yeah, so then it get real crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
I know we touched on it before. Talk a little bit about like if you in that relationship and you are dealing with what you feel like a son, you carrying somebody through a relationship, you're not equally yoked with them, you just feeling hopeless. Where do I start? Like what is my pivot points? What do I need to start doing?
If you're not married, run. I'm
Absolutely.
playing. I'm playing. Like in some ways, it really is not like a blanket statement for everyone because there may be some things. Maybe he might be in a situation whereas he's not showing, the signs, and it could have some reasons behind that. He may have had like a very narcissistic mother that did some things, and so there's a lot to kind of factor in.
Right.
So don't just throw away everything. Like if there's some things like, well, you know what, he does this, but there's this. And a lot of times, if we just even just have a conversation about this, if they seem to be open, at least to change, or at least to listen to, just to grow, you want to
Right.
see room for growth. If they're willing to grow, or at least how to say, like they're seem to be open to at least receive what you have to say. If they seem all kind of like standoffish, like I'm gonna change this how I am, da da da, honey. I don't know how
I
else to
can't
tell you this,
stand it
baby.
once.
You gotta run, honey. And you got to go.
The
You
nearest
know, you
exit.
you got to go. And sometimes, honestly, you can separate for a time. And if it is if it's God's best for you, believe that He'll bring it back together at a better time. But a lot of times
Mhm.
that's not even the case, and we set ourselves up for failure because we're expecting this out of an individual. And promise you, most times they don't change. You have to be able to go into that marriage, like, listen, if he don't change another ounce, I'm okay with this for the rest of my life.
Right.
You have to be willing to marry him as he is. Now, God has done some miraculous things, and he's able.
Right.
He can change you, but you don't
Right.
want to go into the mentality thinking, oh, he gonna change. Honey, take him and accept him how he is, because once you get married, it's going to get worse. Everything is going to intensify because the enemy hates divorce, and so any little thing that was cute when y'all was dating, when you get married, it annoys the crap out of you. I just like, how
Mm-mm.
did I see this as cute? Like, how did I see this when we were dating? Like, how did I
Right.
just let this? That happens. If you're married,
Don't even say it to them. They're gonna be mad. He said,
like my pastor, she likes to say, listen, that man was like that before you married him. Because a lot of times, some of the things that showed up, like you'd be like, how he like this, honey. He showed you himself before y'all got married. I'll be honest, he did.
yeah.
Now, I'm not one to. I do not support divorce. It's like last option for me. But I do understand there's some situations where people, it is what it is. But it's, for me, it's like last resort. So I don't think unequally yoke is a reason to divorce.
Right.
I don't. Now, there may be some other factors in. Now, if there's any type of abuse and stuff, yeah, you need to get out of that situation. And usually the
Immediately.
first thing is like, at least separate. I won't say immediately divorce, at least separate, get you some healing, pray from them from afar, if sometimes in those scenarios they are able to change, they're able to get help, healing, and then we can, kind of work and get towards like a better, in a better place. That's a possibility. But I won't advise anyone to stay in any type of harmful um, environment for the sake of marriage. Because
Yes.
I hear a lot of people giving that advice. I'm like, I
Condone
cannot
it.
tell you that. I'm sorry, I can't, because I know God hates divorce, but He don't love the marriage more than He loves you. Point
Exactly.
blank, He don't. So
Yeah.
it's separate. Try to get someone to help y'all work that out. Get some counseling. If they're not open to that, just kind of let it go its course. And that's
Mm,
something I can't tell a person what to do. That's a decision between you and God. Because there going to be some time God is going to lead you to stay in that marriage, as awful as it may look. Because what He can do within it is much better than what He can do out. So
right.
it's a case by case thing. So I can also someone like, okay, well, do this, do that. Listen, you need to get connected with God. That's the most important thing right now. He knows everything. That's the person who you need to look to for advice, because everybody's
Mm,
going to have something to say. And
mm,
sometimes they're well-meaning. I know people were well-meaning when they told me like I needed to give up on my marriage, but I knew what God told me. And so I
right.
had to make sure I made the decision to trust God. I made the
Mm,
decision to partner with God. So even in those situations where it looks like a dead situation, looks like, you're two worlds apart, it just looks impossible. I can tell you, I can attest to my own testimony, what God can do when you give it to Him. A lot of times you be like,
right.
God help me, and you be still trying to control things, and you can't be, you and God can't be God at the same time. Somebody, only one person, and
Absolutely.
I think He's better at being God than I am. I don't know Jack, but He knows everything. He created me. He's the
Mm.
manufacturer. He's the creator. He knows the ins and out of everything. He knows my beginning from the end. So how about I trust Him, because it seems like He knows a little bit better. When I do it, I jack things up big time. So how about
You,
I trust
Abigail,
Him to
you
do
said
that?
two key words that I loved. One
Mm-hmm.
was expectation, because you talked a little bit before about expectations. You go into
Mm-hmm.
a marriage, girl, you knew that man was like that when you met him, type of mentality, which I'm
Yeah.
totally 100% with you. But I just
Mm-hmm.
want to dive into that expectation a little bit, because we talked about in the past. When you go into a relationship, you need a set of expectations. What is to expect of this person? And you'll know right then when you can't meet that. So talk a little bit about set expectations and what that looks like practically when I'm out here dating. How do I kind of line up my expectations and kind of hold people to those, so when I go in, they know what to expect? Like, how do I lay that out to people? Like, hey, I don't do sex before marriage. I'm not saying that that is the case with anyone. Or I
Mm-hmm.
don't drink alcohol, or I don't stay out after 12, or I don't let men
Mm-hmm.
in my house, or
Mm-hmm.
I expect you to work and have a job. How do we start that wheel going of communicating those things with folk before we get into these tough situations where we even have to pray these demons out of our house? Or
Baby, it's it's first of all, it is very important, first and foremost, to communicate your expectations. And
mm,
even you can communicate all you want, and you'll still get into that marriage and certain things that you just thought was a norm. Not that you necessarily expect them to do something. You just something
mm,
simple as, I switch out my towel like every other day, or I switch out my towel once a week. Oh, how long? Oh, wow. Just certain things that you just expect
yeah.
because that's your norm. So you may still
Mm,
run into some of those, but you just want to first think about the non-negotiables. Like the like
right.
the like the like the non-negotiables. Like you want to first kind of talk that out. And then you don't want to seem like dictative when you do, well, I expect this and I expect that. No.
Mm,
You just kind of want to have a conversation and be like, hey, what are your thoughts on this?
right.
What are your thoughts? Hey, what are your thoughts on sex before marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. You think it's okay? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't. You know. No, and
Right.
that's fine if you think that way. That's cool. Like, but I don't. I believe, I should first be intimate with my husband on my wedding night. And that's just, how I believe. And then two, want to set boundaries, because now it's okay if the person, just once they understand that boundary and don't try to cross that boundary. Now, I personally think it's better if the person agrees. It's like, well, yeah, I feel the same way too, XYZ. But even then, sometimes they be talking and they don't really mean it, because, so you want to use wisdom too, like ask the Holy Spirit how to ask some of these questions. because I'm just kind of talking on top of my head, but he might know the person a little bit more
Right.
than I do. That because sometimes you don't even want to ask like that because some people they're gonna answer it because you asked it. It's like, oh yeah.
Exactly.
That's what I think too. Know full well that was never their intentions because some people they are professional people pleasers. They'll just say things because they think that's what you want to hear. No, honey, I want to hear the truth. As hard as you might
Exactly.
think it is, I want to hear the truth. Let me know what I'm getting up front because I don't want no imposters, no impersonators, no representatives. I want the real person. So talking about certain expectations, that's like think about what's deal breakers for you. You want to kind of start, thinking about those expectations. And there may be some other minor expectations that can be more fall into the it is like it's not a deal breaker. There may I'm trying to think what's not a deal breaker. Okay, funny story. It's not a deal breaker, but it was important to me. When I dated my husband, that man had an Android. Jesus. And
It
I
was
know,
old school.
y'all don't like if y'all Android people don't come for me. That was something
Right.
that's important to me. Okay,
And y'all
I
say,
like
just a
seeing blue
second,
bubbles.
y'all say y'all names in the comments because I can't see everybody. Somebody just said boundaries, but I can't see everybody's name. So if y'all are talking to Miss Abigail, make sure y'all put your name. I don't know who each person is. Anyway, go ahead with the
Yeah.
Android story.
So that's not something that's like okay, it's not a high priority, but it meant a big deal to me. The green bubbles was bothering me, y'all, but I liked him. I was like, hey, I kind of like him. I was like, but dang, he got green bubbles, you know. And I was like, it meant so much to me. And I would kind of drop a little hint here and there. You're like, well, because we were in different states. Well, if you had an iPhone, we could FaceTime because Messenger just isn't doing it for me. You
Right.
know, y'all, lo and behold, that man turned around and he bought him an iPhone. When I tell y'all it was
Wow. See,
the
that's a green
won't he
light.
do it?
I call it a green light. Mm.
Girl, and guess what? He always be like, "Oh, I hate iPhones, da da da. I don't like them. I'm getting me a new phone." I'm just looking at him like, "Boy, please, whatever." Now he got him an Apple Watch. He got. Oh, you still hate Apple, huh?
He in the
But
Apple
God,
family.
God
Right.
answers prayers. But I brought that up because that wasn't like a big like non-negotiable, but it was something that was important to me, and I just kind of gave that to God, and look how He worked that out.
Right, working on that. Wow. Okay. That's Edna. You talking? Hey Edna. Hey Linda. Yeah, that's definitely something that can be negotiated. Like leaving your socks around. See, I can leaving your socks around is bad. Trust me, but I can deal with that. But slapping across the face, no. So
Right.
that's a good example of a negotiable and a non-negotiable. That's not negotiable. Wow. Yeah. 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 But anyway, you were I'm sorry I interrupted you, but you were trying to finish up with that story. I don't know where we were going. I lost my train of thought. Do you remember?
No, I think. Well, I think. Well, girl,
Right.
I got lost in my little.
We were talking
Yeah,
about
I just thought that was so funny.
yeah, it was because I'm the same way. Like when I first met my husband, he had a dang Android, but not even a good one, y'all. It was like that old, like a burner phone or something. I'm like, do you sell drugs? Like, what is going on? Like that phone is so old. And he was like, I don't worry about this phone. Like he didn't care about his phone. Like he would leave it in the car, wouldn't even charge it. I'm like, I think if you had an iPhone, you would have a lot more respect for that phone because that iPhone is like a little person. Like I named my phone. Like
Right.
that phone costs as much as a dog or a little person. Like them phones
Right.
is expensive. I promise you, you get an iPhone, your relationship with your telephone gonna change. Trust me, you ain't gonna be leaving it in nobody's car or nothing like that. But it was crazy. But I
Right.
think we were talking about boundaries and setting expectations going
Oh
into
yeah.
a
So yeah,
relationship.
talking
Yeah,
about expectations and
yeah,
just making it because it's different ways that you can do it. But the more, and I think it's you don't want to go into the heavy stuff like right off the bat. Some things you might want to wait till the relationships get a little bit more serious when we know like, okay, we're committed to each other and the path or the goal is marriage. Then I think that's when you really want to start about talking about some of the heavy expectations. And that's why premarital counseling is really important in this area, because they're
Ooh,
going to help you
yes.
talk through some things. And oh, I didn't even think about that. Expectations in the bedroom. Hello, somebody. That's important. And I felt like they
Exactly.
did us a this service because they didn't talk to us about certain things. And I'm not going to go into all of that, but bless the
No,
Lord.
no, please
um you
don't,
know
because let's go right quick.
mhm,
Not too much
mhm.
time. But a couple weeks ago, I asked the ladies in the group, you know, how important is sex in your marriage, and like kind of like how you rate that, the size matter. Like, girl, we got into some deep things at 12 o'clock in the morning on the Girl Talk line. Yes, it was really deep. But like that is so important on that level too. Like, that's an expectation as well. Like, you need to go in there knowing what their sexual appetite is or what the sexual activity level is going to be like,
Mhm.
because you may agree upon 3 times a week, and he may be up to 7 days a week. Don't nobody want to go like that, or it could be the opposite where he only want to do it once a month and you ready to go right now. Like, that's not
Right.
gonna work. So that needs
Mhm.
to be communicated as well. Like, I
Yeah,
need to
that
know
needs to
what
be
your
yeah.
sexual appetite is or what sexual level you're on too. So that's very important. But yeah, those girls had
Mhm.
me rolling that night. Y'all nasty. But anyway, y'all had me laughing in the group laughing that night. But anyway,
Yeah, well, no, those are certain things. Those are important. But I would say that, like that level, that's one of the examples where that might want to wait till closer. Like when you
right,
made the
right.
decision, okay, we about to get married, then let's talk about some of these things. Because
Hmm.
really talking about that a little too soon is not going to be good for anybody.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah.
So, but then you want to see how important is that for you. Oh Lord, I think I lost some of my little things.
I
Jesus.
can still hear you okay though.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody's
So
laughing at us.
we cut up when we get together. We do.
Yeah, every time. I'm waiting on a
Yeah.
round table though to get a couple other of our moderators in here. Y'all ain't gonna be able to handle us. It's a mess. But but yeah, so and I'm with you, Abigail, 100% on all these expectations and what people come into marriage expecting. Because obviously you don't want to talk about sex on the first day because you don't want to look easy. But down the line,
Hmm.
before you make that vow and you cross that threshold and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm good to you
Hmm.
the rest of my life," you probably need to see where your partner is on all aspects and all levels. It ain't just
Hmm.
on that sexual level, but just on all the ones we talked about tonight. But I
Yeah.
think more importantly, overall and or overarching, is to be spiritually sound with each other. And
Hmm.
I think that's why I
Yeah.
wanted to bring it to the table so hard tonight, is because I think all that other stuff you can kind of work with, but when somebody's deeply in their heart committed to a certain lifestyle
Hmm.
and way they live in, it's
Hmm.
kind of it's very hard to turn around. Not impossible, because there's nothing impossible with God. Like you said, He's
Right.
able. So I put
Hmm.
it in the comments. He is able, y'all. He'll do it. Kurt Franklin. But
Hmm.
the thing is you got to understand, like, that's going to be an uphill battle. Like, I don't want to be
Yeah.
fighting you in my marriage for the rest of my marriage when I could have nipped this in the bud in marriage counseling or in a question over
Hmm.
a date. What do you believe in? what
Yeah.
what what are you affiliated with? So,
Hmm.
but anyways, that's kind of where I'm just bringing y'all to speed for the folks who just joined me and popped in here. But that's kind of where Miss Abigail's going, and she's dropped so many gems for us tonight. And we talked about expectation, but there was one more word that you kept saying. I can't even think of it now. Dang it, I should have wrote it or snapped it down right quick, but I can't remember. You said something else that was so good. But a lot of times when we talk to you, Abigail, you always come in with, I think, either self-worth. What is that you always talk about, girl? It's so good. You talk about like self-worth and your identity. Is it identity?
Well,
Is
I
that
was talking about identity. That usually
yes?
comes up. I don't think I talked about it a
Talk
lot
to the
today,
folks about
but
identity and how that can get misconstrued up in all of this when you're trying to pick a mate.
you know what, that is important too when we kind of talk about the whole topic of being equally yoked. you know
Mhm.
Even before you have expectations of anyone else, you need to know who you are. You need to know, who you are, who made you, who is the person that made you. You need to know who God is. You need to know how God
Mhm.
sees you. Because if you have a poor view of yourself, you're going to have a poor view of others. And then you're going to be expecting or accepting things lower than your value. So you need to understand your value, how much God values you, how much you are worth. And you are worth a lot because somebody died for you, honey. Whether you accepted him or not, he died for you. That's
Mm.
valuable. And so you need
Yes.
to you need to know your value. You need to know your worth. Because once you know that, then you know what you expect, what you want out of a person. And then you don't want to be with someone who doesn't know their value, because if they had know their value, they would have treated you better than how they're treating you. But the fact that they don't know
Mm,
who they are, they're going to treat you like trash because they think they're trash. And so they think everyone else is trash. But you got to remind them, no, honey, I'm royalty. No, you can't just talk to me anyhow. That's not going to work.
exactly.
There's some boundaries that needs to be placed. You can talk to whoever else you want like that. That's fine. But when you're
But
talking to me,
not this
you better
queen.
come correct, because I am royalty. But even
Mm,
that's how so important that your identity is, because then it sets the bar on what you would accept. It sets the bar on what you would expect from others. And so if you have a healthy view of yourself, you'll have a healthy view of others.
I like that. Y'all write that in the chat. Yes, you gotta get your own mind right. That is so good, because I think sometimes
Mhm,
you go into these relationships when I was in my younger years, and I was just kind of like looking for what they would like in a woman. You know what I'm saying? So I
mhm,
could be whoever people wanted me to be. Back to that people pleasing and
mhm,
mentality of just saying, let me be whoever these people want me to be. And it wasn't just into me, and it was like all my friendships, my relationships. I wanted to
mhm,
be likable and people to like me or and to enjoy being in my company. And so I would put on whoever you would want me to do. But when you were in so many people's faces and trying on all this stuff, what about your stuff? You forget who you are, back to your
mhm,
identity and who you are as a person. And you lose even the right to say, this is what I expect, because you don't even know what to expect, because you just looking to see what they want you to do.
yeah,
And I
mhm,
know that I struggle with that as a younger woman. And, as I grew into myself, I'm like, I'm a queen, blah, blah, blah. Switch my name to Queen
mhm,
Nora. Like, no, I can't be touched. But I'm just speaking to my young generation, and even the ones who may be older and haven't explored this part or did their mental work on this part of themselves, is that
mhm,
your identity isn't who you need to be, but you first have to stop being who everyone else around you wants you to be in order
mhm,
to even find some expectations of
yeah.
who you are. So I
You
just love when you talk about identity, Abigail.
Yeah, because you need to know what God says about you. That's
Mm,
what you need to know. The reason why, because what He says matters. He created you. He's the manufacturer. He can
mm,
tell you what your worth is, what your value is. So what He says matters. His word won't fail. His word won't return to Him void. His word would outlast everything He created. So that's a pretty solid thing to go by. So you can't go by what other people say about you, because people are going to change their minds. The moment you stop doing what you want them to do, their view of you changes. But they don't
mm.
determine your value. God determines your value. So that's what's very important to know, who 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 you are is important.
Yes.
Who created you?
Wow.
What He says about you. He says that you're beautiful. He calls you His
Mm,
beloved. He said you were fearfully and wonderfully made. He knew you before you even knew you. He knew you before your parents even thought about you. That's
wow.
important. So if He has all that inside information about you, why wouldn't you want to know that? Because
Mm,
that's what matters. What God has to say about me matters. What anyone, so my identity is first foremost in who I am as a child of God. Everything else comes after. I don't care. Skin color, my race, like everything after. Because I am a child of God. That's the most
absolutely.
important thing. Because with that comes so much. Do you know how much value it is to be in the kingdom, to be considered a kingdom citizen? Man, you need to know,
Mm,
it's like you having insurance and you don't even use the benefits.
right.
You
You don't even
you
know
know
you
how
have it.
crazy that is? You got
Mm,
dental insurance, you got free cleaning, you at least got free cleaning every year, and you don't take advantage of it because you think you got to pay somehow. But no, you get free cleaning. At least get the cleaning.
right.
There's so many benefits and advantages to being a child of God, and we don't even know about that. You got to know about that. You got to know how God
Exactly.
sees you, because then that helps you see things much more clearly. When you see yourself the way God sees you, then you see others the way God sees them. Then you can
Mm,
help them to see themselves. That's how it's supposed to be. But when you see all of this toxicity that we have going on, it's because no one knows who they are, and they're going to treat
wow.
you the way they'll treat you the way they feel about themselves. And so if you're in a
Mm,
relationship, whether it's a platonic or a romantic relationship, and they're treating you horribly, believe me, they feel that about themselves, because the person is not going to treat you any better than they'll treat themselves. And so if they're treating you
exactly.
horribly, they feel that way about themselves and they're just projecting it on you. So I would suggest getting out of that situation. If they are harming,
Yes.
even verbally, emotionally, physically, remove yourself. They need to know who they are. In the meantime, you need to find out who you are. Who did God call you to be? What is your purpose
Mm.
on this earth? Because believe me, everybody has a purpose. You need to figure out what it is that He has for you to do.
Exactly. I like what you said, Abigail, when people try to project their insecurities onto you. I was on here
Mm-hmm.
with Miss Gail a couple weeks ago, and she was like, I just give people back their stuff. And that was so powerful for me because it's so true. You got to give people back their stuff. They try to put
Mm-hmm.
insecurity on you, they try to put depression on you, they try to put their grief
Mm-hmm.
on you, whatever it may be, you have to give folk back their stuff. And this works very well in the topic that we're talking about today when we're trying to be equally yoked to one another, or, especially in a romantic or a marriage relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and people try to put stuff off on you. I need you to work all this out, go to therapy, get your mind right
Mm-hmm.
with God, and do all that on your own time, and then come
Mm-hmm.
back over here. Not to say you're going to be completely healed, because we always perfecting ourselves as human beings.
Right.
We'll
Mm-hmm.
never be perfect, but I don't want you coming here with just suitcases load, truckloads of baggage. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna
Right.
need you to
Right.
go work some of that out, because as a wife, I have to carry this with you. Me and you are gonna carry this load together. You're gonna carry my stuff, I'm gonna carry yours. And let's try to make that as light as possible. So if you know
Mm-hmm.
someone's carrying baggage and you think, oh, I'm gonna fix that, I'm gonna work that out. You trying to go into that mommy mentality where you're gonna hold that baby hand and he gonna be your baby, because that's gonna turn into a mommy son relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
Real
I
quick.
can't, it's just, and then that's a tough place. But yeah, giving people back their stuff. And shout out to Miss Gail. But yeah, I can't. Yeah,
And you know
so
what's really important too? I just thought about this because I know we're talking about the being equally yoked.
mm-hmm,
It comes up a lot in a marriage or a romantic relationship, but guess what? It's equally as important in friendships.
mm-hmm.
And I think a
Oh,
lot of
somebody just
people,
said that.
a lot of people too casually just get into
Mm-hmm,
friendships. And what you need to understand is friendships are just is are they're covenants. They're not as
mm-hmm,
serious as a marriage covenant, because that is like a stronger covenant. But
mm-hmm,
when you are in a friendship with someone, you have a bond with that person. We talk about soul ties in romantic relationships, but guess what? You can have a soul tie with someone too without a sexual relationship. People don't understand that.
mm-hmm.
The easiest way
Yes.
for you to have a soul tie is through sexual relationship, but you can also have
Mm-hmm.
a unhealthy soul tie with a person that you're not romantically involved with. And so you want to be careful with who are you in covenant with, that you're considering to be a friend. We should take that word a
Ooh.
little bit more lightly and not just try to be everybody's friend. It's okay, we can be associates. Oh, okay, hey girl, hi and bye, that's cool. But the
Right.
person who you open up yourself to, or you give some access to your personal information, you want to make sure y'all are in on the same page. Because listen, I need somebody to be able to pray for me. There are gonna be times I can't pray for myself, and even in friendships, I need to know you're able to pray when I can't
Yeah.
pray, or you
Mm,
might be able to catch some things I can't catch. And I want
right.
to be able to do that with you. So you want to make sure you're equally yoked with even your friends. A lot of you are going to need to reassess some of those friendships. And it doesn't
Ooh.
mean that the friendships are like, it you I always like to talk about I call it different ways. Let me do this way. Jesus. He had, I
Yes.
always mix it up. I think we in the Bible he had, I think it was 70 or 80 followers. I keep getting those numbers mixed up. He
I,
had 70 or 80 followers,
I
right?
want to say 70 because they always use that number in the Bible.
Right. Okay. So let's say he had the 70 followers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he had the 12 disciples. Of the 12 disciples, he had three that was always with him all the
That was
time.
in his
And then
inner circle.
in
Yes.
his inner circle. And then there
That
was
inner
one. There
circle.
was one who said the
Yes.
one who Jesus loved. So there was still one who was the most into the one who stayed with him when everyone else ran
Mm.
away.
Wow.
So all of them, they had relationship with Jesus, but there were certain levels and certain access that
It's
they had to
levels to
Jesus.
this. Yes.
So in your friendships, you're gonna need to reassess some of these friendships and kind of say, oh, okay, well, oh, my bad, I had you up here with with the 3, you might need to
Yeah,
go
let
back
me
down with the
take you
12.
back to the 6.
Oh, you. Oh, I hear. Okay, I think you should be with
This
the
is so
70.
good.
My,
Yeah.
I made a mistake. Hey, and it doesn't mean that you're not friends. It could be. It's just the level of access that you give them
Mm,
to you. You
yes.
don't. So the persons that you have closest to you, who have most access to you, those are the ones you want to make sure specifically you are equally yoked with them, because
Right.
that the closer you are, the more you reveal yourself, the more like you're knit with this person. You have a soul tie with this person, because the because we have soul ties with our parents. That's
Mhm.
healthy, but some people go too far and it
Yeah.
gets unhealthy, and that's when you got these little mama's boys and all of this stuff, because it's unhealthy. You got these toxic parents,
Mhm.
just abusing these children, and not
Yeah.
physically, but it's still some level of abuse, because you're expecting something from your child an adult is supposed to do. So
Yeah.
that's unhealthy. But even in friendships, we have in the Bible, we have what's his name? It was David and Jonathan.
Yes.
They had a
Mhm.
soul tie because they were
Yeah.
like best friends.
Best
And
friend.
we have some like friends, like you would die for them. Like, listen,
Yeah, he
he
literally was willing to, he
like yeah,
died
he
for him.
he
Hmm.
did.
Yeah, he
Well,
died
yeah, he
for
pretty
him
much, yeah,
against
he
his
pretty
own
much
daddy.
did.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's and soul ties aren't bad. I don't want you to think they're bad. It's just when they're unhealthy. Those are the ones we
Mm.
need to kind of like, kind of get away from. But we can also have healthy soul ties, because healthy soul ties you see in healthy marriages. That's a
Hmm.
healthy soul tie. There can be healthy soul ties in the parent child relationship until they get a certain age. And you have to kind of cut them off to an extent. But
Yeah,
even
they
in
go to their
friendships,
family. Yeah, you need to
right.
go right.
Right. But
Mama,
even
you
in
can stay at
friendships,
home. Yes.
there are healthy soul ties where
Hmm.
you're knitted with this person. You pray for this person. You want to see the best for this person. And so you want to make
Hmm.
sure, like, those close, intimate relationships, that you guys are equally yoked. Because, man, honey, like, listen,
Man,
ain't nobody got time. Like, I need, like, because I had times where I could not pray for myself. And if it
and I
wasn't my
need a
friends kind of
friend.
stepping in, praying
Mm.
for me, and I was able to still do that for them when they're in a situation, that's important. That's because we're meant to have fellowship. We're meant to have relationship. We weren't meant to be just you and Jesus. I know that's what y'all think, but that's not the case.
Yeah, only God can judge me. It's just me,
But
you, one deep type of mentality.
yeah, I
Wow.
mean, Jesus is number one. Don't get it mixed up. But he had intended for us to be in fellowship with others and be a family. But not
Exactly.
everyone should have access to you.
Right.
Some people, it's okay if they're in the 70s, the 70. Leave them there. That's okay. Doesn't mean you can probably send them a little birthday text every now and then. Hey, Merry Christmas, if
Oh
at
my
that,
gosh. I had made a status, Abigail, the other day about this same thought process of friends, because sometimes people are talking about, well, I got to move in silence. I can't do this and that, around my friends. And I'm
Mhm,
like, around your friends, if that's your inner circle and those are your friends and you can't tell them what your goal is, then that's not a friend. You got them in the wrong level. That soul tie is unhealthy.
mhm,
So that would be a prime example of an unhealthy soul tie. If I have to keep
mhm,
my vision or my dream or goal a secret from you, you're probably not in my inner circle, and I shouldn't be having to run and hide stuff from you. But that's your ace, right? That's the person you kick it with every day.
mhm.
So that's probably an unhealthy soul tie that I can't
Yeah.
tell you about a goal or a vision that I have for myself. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So yeah, go
and
ahead.
I'm just hearing someone asking, like, well, how do I tell it's an unhealthy soul tie in a friendship? I'll give you an example. If what this person thinks or feel about you matters more than God, that's the soul tie.
Ooh,
You
that's
need to you need
good.
to sever that.
Mhm. Yeah.
If yeah, like, if their opinion of you matters so much that you are compromising a relationship with God, that's an unhealthy soul tie. You want
Mhm.
to check, no one should have that much control over you. It really should. So
Mhm.
it's like those things
Wow.
you want to look for. Like, if you feel like, God is probably leading you to kind of separate y'all, and you always feel like, well, I gotta call her. I don't want to leave her out. We've been friends since middle school, XYZ.
No.
No.
I know
You know,
exactly what you mean. I struggle
and
with that so
yeah,
bad.
and the person may mean well. It's, and they may not be a bad person, but it's just maybe the season has ended. So we need to learn to know when the season has ended. You pray for those soul ties to be severed, and you move forward, because not everybody could go with you to the next level.
You got to be light for the flight. Wow. Yes,
Hmm.
this is so good. See, I didn't even know I was going to get a whole sermon on friendships. It's been on my heart so much. This is so good. Like, I've been thinking about friendships going into the new year and like business relationships, business partnerships, and just really trying to
Hmm.
elevate myself to the next level. And I know a lot of people are feeling this like I am because this is a new year. We didn't came out of 2020, Jumanji, Hunger Games, however y'all want to look at it. We level 12 Jumanji right now. We almost made it out the gate, but we need to go in prepared because I mean, after this year, I'm like, man, I really need to get some strong prayer warriors around me, people that's really
Hmm.
strong minded, goal oriented, like really on the same page as me. Like, I'm not wasting any more time because I mean, with the way things is going, this might be my last year. I don't know what's going to happen. And so
Hmm.
I'm just thinking, like, I don't have any more time to waste pancake playing with folk who don't really want to step up to the level or even really even be in kinship with me. I can be your
Hmm.
friend, I can love on you from a distance, but you no longer gonna be in my inner circle. So that's kind of what
Yeah.
I've been thinking about. And I know that a lot of other ladies probably are, especially if you set goals and thinking about vision like we are right
Hmm.
now, and you thinking about who I need to eliminate. Let the games begin, right? Who needs to go. And I don't want to say it like that because I don't want people to think that I'm just chopping heads and I'm a headhunter because that's not
Yeah.
exactly at all what I'm
Hmm.
doing. What I'm doing is
Hmm.
prioritizing my heart and getting my mental place right
Hmm.
because you disservicing yourself. That's disservice to your heart and to your mental space when you allow people to come
Hmm.
into it who don't mean you no good, but you suppress who
Hmm.
you are in order to make room for them. Does that make sense? And so,
Yeah.
like, every
Hmm.
time you do that, you're giving a little bit of who you are away until you have
Hmm.
nothing left. And that's just how I
Hmm.
don't want to be depleted going into 2021. So I just want people to really understand where I'm coming from. I'm not saying going there cut out like that cut off coach. I'm cutting you off. I'm doing that. And blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying get your inner circle right. And this ain't even something that got to be done
Hmm.
in public. Like, you ain't got to go on Facebook and get to deleting. It's your
No.
heart that you need to check.
Hmm.
You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's a heart check. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
What
so
I'm
glad
what
you
I'm
went.
doing is I'm reassessing friendships, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I still love them. We still friends, but if for some it's like, you know what, I'm going to I realize that I give more.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
sometimes like I may be expecting it to be the same, and I'm not getting
Mhm.
the same, and then my feelings are getting hurt. And I'm
Yeah.
like, but you know what? It's not their fault.
Yeah.
Why are you expecting you? Sometimes it's like you have to let people determine where your friendship is going to be at too. You're going to have some of those. They're going to, if they want to be, some of them you're pulling to be closer to them, and they're kind of
Mm.
keeping you at a distance. Oh, okay. So now for me, it's like, oh, okay, we're gonna just keep it the same way, like the same energy
Mm.
you give me gonna be the same energy I'm giving back to you, and it's no disrespect. It's like because we're gonna keep this equal. We're gonna
Yeah.
keep this equal, and
Yeah.
it's okay. That's the thing for me. It's like it's okay. It is not like the person's a bad person. They're me. No,
No. Yeah.
I just expected things. My bad, my bad,
My bad. I thought we
my
was
bad.
cool in there.
Right,
Yeah.
my bad. That's okay. That's
Right.
okay. No love lost. No apologies needed. No, that's okay. My bad. It's
Right.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. This is so good. Y'all done got a lesson on what friends and what man to keep. So I don't want y'all
That is
heading in
funny.
2021 with the wrong folks. We need to get it right. We got to get it right. Um, okay, somebody said we can't expect people to do what we would do because we set ourselves up for disappointment. Absolutely, we sure do. That's crazy. Like, we do that. Just like what you were saying, Abigail. When you go into there and you think, oh, she gonna do this or he gonna do that. Because I mean, this goes males and female friendships as well.
Hmm.
In relationships, we expect something out of somebody and they do that like, oh, you're crazy. Okay. All right. No dually taken. I jotted that down. Yeah, I jotted it down. Okay, you're crazy. And it's just like you gotta think and like put people in categories. For me, it's very simple. And my sisters know that I talk about them with this all the time. They're very tardy. They don't get nowhere on time. They're always late. Like, them girls can't get nowhere on time. They want to do full makeup, wig, nails. the works that I know about them. So because of that, I don't put them in charge of anything that's important. You know, I say bring the napkins, or not even napkins. I'll be like, just bring yourself at this point, because or bring some extra, whatever. Like, I don't want you bringing no main dishes or anything that's gonna really set the dinner too far behind, because I know you're gonna be about 1 to 2 hours late, or maybe just show up at the end and say hello for the after party. So I've learned where people go, and that way that cut down on arguments between me and you, because I already know you can't be trusted with this. So I'm not going to give you this because you can't be trusted with it. So we got to stop giving people expectations that you know that they can't handle. And that's just like you telling your boyfriend, who or your partner that's cheated on every woman he met, and you think he's gonna be faithful to you. Why would he be? He been a cheater. Like, why would you be any different from the rest of the folks he cheated on? So if he's a cheater, you expect him to cheat so you move around. But some people doesn't change folk. You know what I'm saying? They think, oh, it's me, I'm gonna be different,
It's gonna
by
be
moving
different with
or
me.
whatever the case.
No,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
pattern, honey. You seen a pattern. Follow the pattern.
Exactly.
Patterns usually do not lie.
Yeah.
Now, in Jesus, there is salvation and deliverance, and that can be changed. However, you ain't Jesus. And sometimes that takes time. So understand,
Exactly.
if you, and it's okay if you know what, you can not listen to anything we say, still marry the person, see some of them little red flags and still marry them. That's okay. But just understand that you're making it harder for yourself on the back end. So we're trying to catch it on the front end.
Yeah.
Trying to catch it on the front end. But it's okay. Just pick your poison.
That is so true. Oh my goodness. These are just warnings, y'all. We just having a little fun, but seriously, those are warnings. You have to listen, y'all, to intuition and those red flags when you see them, not to ignore them. Even when they small, they can add up to big things in a marriage. Because right now, you only see the person maybe every other day, or you only spend the day with them and they go home, you go home. But when they in your house 24/7, that little red flag,
Baby.
it turns real big. That flag get real big.
Okay.
Yeah, so you just have to really just be mindful, y'all, as you going through your processes and stuff. And it's just, it's a lot. I know it's a lot to learn, it's a lot to consider. And I don't think patterns and thought processes change overnight, but I think this is a really good starting place to really start to think about, hey, am I unequally yoked? Is this person not on my level with me? Have I set expectations in our relationship? Those are some of the questions we need to be asking. So, but anyway, Miss Abigail, do you have any final thoughts for these ladies tonight?
No, not if you
It's
have
been
any other
so
questions.
good. Yeah, I don't know if I answered all of them. I got so caught up with everything else. Let me even look and see if I had anything else. I mean, everything was so good. Let me see. Yeah, you answered everything for me. And I think we go back to a little bit, like, before we leave, because I want to leave folks with some hope. If they in that relationship and they just they realize, hey, this is not equally yoked, and they probably knew long before they seen this video, I'm sure. Um, just talk to them a little bit about just kind of like some of the steps they can take as practical in trying to write that or make their exit or whatever the case may be. Not that we say you need to exit, that it can't be fixed, but some of the things you can do to try to kind of steer that thing around back and come
Right.
back to
So
yourself.
yeah, so there are some scenarios where there is still hope. Even
Mm,
in the most you know, dead, like just completely dead dry situation, I promise you God can breathe life into it. And
mm,
so the key thing is to have a relationship with the Holy Spirit and understand where he's leading you, because that's the most important thing. So let's say if you're in that situation, you see like, okay, you guys are not equally yoked on this particular area, or maybe several different areas. It actually isn't all lost. There are some
mm,
situations where as God wants to do something out of it. The thing is, a lot of times if we try to do it on our own, it's going to fail. But if
right.
you know God is leading you into a certain direction, or to stay and trust that he can work it out. The key thing is to pray. And I want
Mm,
to be mindful of how I say, because when I share my testimony, it wasn't like I prayed, Lord, send my husband back. I didn't necessarily pray that.
right. Kind of don't want
You
you
know,
to.
but
If you
I
come,
I
you come.
knew I knew God wasn't finished with us, and I understood that he there's some things that he wanted to do in our union, and that I knew from before we were married, and so that's what kept me keep pushing and keep standing for my marriage. But when I say pray, because we have to be careful, because I think we might use prayer as a manipulative tool, and then we start dabbling over into witchcraft, believe it or not. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like I was praying, trying to pray against his will or trying to pray that. No, I was praying for God's will to be done. I was partnering with God. It wasn't me saying, like, God, I need you
Wow.
to do this for me. God, do this for me. Like, I want my husband. No. Quite honestly, I was like, God, look, if you want to just let him go and bring someone else by, that's fine, because I know I'm a good thing. Okay. I know. However, I was like, your will be done. Your will be done. And so the thing is like, you're praying for the person, not for you, but for God. Because the most important relationship is what they have with God.
Wow.
Everyone needs to get connected with their first love. And so the
Mm.
reason why you guys probably aren't on the same page is because, one, I go back to identity. They don't know who they are. They don't know who created them. They don't know how much they're loved. And so those are the things that you want to pray for. You want to pray that they get
Mm.
reconciled back to God first. When that happens, everything falls into place, because now they're able to hear from God better. Now you guys can have more of a conversation about certain things. Let me tell you, God can do it. I've seen it. I'm seeing it with my own eyes.
Yes. And
But the
I
thing with
need
me,
to, not to cut you off, but we need
yeah,
to bring you back for a testimony hour. I got to hear this, like women, and I was gonna do it this time around, but I'm like, well, let me let this marinate a little bit so it can be real juicy, because it's just full on so many different levels of story, and like I think so many women would be inspired by your story. I mean, you already know I've told you this. Like every time I see you, I'm continue to remind you that okay, Nora still shook. So I just completely admire the relationship, and I know that it's not, and not in a weird way. I don't want you to think that, but just in a way of wow, God is really faithful, and this lady was
so
relentless in her
he
prayers,
is
relentless
faithful.
in her
Yeah.
belief, and like a rock.
Right. But the thing is,
Immovable.
my faith, it was just my faith in God. And it was
Yes,
tested to a whole nother level. It
yes,
was tested. But I was just want to make sure I clear up. It wasn't that I was praying for what I wanted. I was praying for what God wanted.
right.
We have to learn how to partner with God, not think
Hmm.
like we're because God isn't our genie. We're not praying,
Right.
oh God, do this. God, pay
Oh,
this
I'm so
bill.
glad you
God, do
said
this. God, do this. God, do this. No, we are partnering with God. He is the one who is the creator. He is the one who's looking for someone to partner with so his purpose and plans can happen on the earth. It's not the other way around. So we have to understand, when we're praying, we are partnering with God. God, I'm praying out your will. How is it that you want me to pray for this man today? Because I really don't feel like praying for him today. But bless the Lord, he's your son. And I'm
Wow.
a pray for him because you love him. I love him too.
Mm. It's true though. That's
Mhm.
real.
So I mean, that's the biggest hope that I could give anyone, is to find out what it is God wants to do in your situation. What it is that He wants to do. Does He want you to stay? Does He want you to go? Because He can tell you go, and if it's something, He can resurrect it. Even if the relationship ends, He can resurrect that. Or He
Mm,
might tell you to stay. The key thing is, you want to be where God tells you to be. That's the safest place you
right.
could be, in His will. It could have chaos all around you, but once
Mm,
you're where He tells you to be, it's the safest, most peaceful, calm, secure place that you can be. And that's where you want to be. Because wherever
mm.
He's not gonna lead you or steer you wrong. He's gonna always lead you in the right direction.
Wow. That's so good. That's a good to know. Oh man, that is so good, Abigail. Thank you so much again for coming and
Thank
speaking to these
you.
ladies upon tonight. It was so good. You dropped so many jewels, so many nuggets for the ladies. And I want you guys to go and support her. She has a page here on Facebook. She also has one on
Mhm.
Instagram, and I think it's Battle Ready Wives on both social media outlets,
Yeah,
right?
it's Battery Wives, and I promise that I'm gonna do more writing this
Right,
year, 2012. I promise I'm gonna do more writing. But I have a blog, battlereadywives.org, and I'm just gonna try to just share whatever revelation that I have, because it's important for us to know who we are. So a lot of things that I'm gonna speak to is going to be to make sure that you are whole, healed, healthy. So I'm gonna speak to a lot of that. I might speak about some hard things that some things, but making sure that you are the wife God calls you to be, that you can be able
mm,
to partner with Him and do what He needs to be done within your husband. You will be. I mean, I think about my namesake Abigail. Like that was a strong woman. That she lived with that man. That man was so bad.
right,
But yet, how she had enough wisdom to speak to David, and even David listened because David was ready to kill everybody.
right. He was ready to say,
That's like an example of what God can do through you. You might think you don't
mm,
have a whole lot of value, but God has a special plan for women. I know, the enemy tries to downplay women, try to get women to be man. That's a whole nother story. There's nothing wrong with being feminine. We don't have to try to be a man. God knew what He was doing when He created us, and He has a special purpose and plan. The enemy would like to make it seem like it's insignificant, but it's very significant. If
very.
you see Jesus in
Wow.
His ministry, He did specific things with women because He was redeeming them for a reason. The
Mm,
enemy came and attacked the woman first
exactly.
because he
Wow.
knew the strength. If you have to understand the influence that you have with your husband. We see it in a negative sense with Eve because that man knew full well he wasn't supposed to eat that fruit. God told him.
He
Now, how
tried
did
to
she get him
blame
to
it on
eat
the
the
woman.
fruit?
Right.
We have influence. But if we don't partner with God, it's the influence is going to be a negative influence. So we want to make sure we partner with the positive, partner with God, and making sure His purpose and plans for our lives, for our husbands' lives, and for our family. To start breaking those generational curses. There's a lot of things that He's trying to do, but we got to learn to partner with Him and not try to get Him to partner with us.
Exactly. Wow. And try to control it. And I know, that is so good. You said about you when you start to speak prayers that are against God and saying your will be done, not God's.
Mhm.
It turns into a little witchcraft because I know people use that manifestation a lot. Oh, I'm just gonna
Mhm.
manifest this to myself or bring this to myself. And I'm not
Mhm.
necessarily saying don't pray to God for wealth or health or for your
Yeah, yeah,
business to
yeah.
succeed.
People get over.
But just but don't get those too twisted and you kind of treading the thin line when you start speaking like that. And not to say that that's your intention, not yours. I'm saying when I hear other ladies talk
Yeah,
about it, and
yeah,
I see
yeah.
that,
Mhm.
have you seen that going around social media? A lot of people talking about manifesting and bringing things to themselves. You need to start praying for God's will be done on your business or God's will be done in your life or in
Yeah.
your marriage and those type of prayers. And like if you and like He knows the desire of your heart and what He wants for you, and so He'll lead you down those paths. And it
Mhm.
may not come in the years that you want, or the time
Yeah.
frame that you want. It'll be in His time and in His will.
Mhm.
And that's how we need to start directing our prayers, that be more efficient and
Yeah.
more effective. So I
Yeah.
like
This
that.
yeah, this is the area I think He really has shown me like recently. And with that, what you said, people like they're manifesting things. A lot of things that you're seeing on Instagram now, a lot of people don't realize, and even
Yeah,
Christians, they need to be careful. It's
yeah,
it's witchcraft.
yeah,
It's blatant witchcraft, and they don't understand it. But even within those well-meaning Christians,
yeah.
even just as simple as feel like oh, I'm just pray this and pray that, and it's not that God doesn't want it for you, but we have to be careful. You can't want it more than God wants it for you.
Right.
You can't, because
Mm,
then now that has become an idol, and so it's a very very thin line. We have
yes.
to always remain humble,
Mm,
humble in our prayers, and realize that God ain't got to do nothing. he listen, if He ain't do nothing else, He did enough. But
yeah.
He
For
don't
we
have to do it.
already
But
did.
right,
Right.
but He wants to do it. But it's not like people get upset like I pray for this and God didn't show up. Is He your genie? That's not
Right.
how that's not how it works.
Oh my
He's not
God.
your genie. He's
Yes.
not a
So
genie in
true.
a bottle. Like every time you rub it, he's gonna answer, and you get upset when he don't answer it the way you want to. And we fall
What
into
happened?
that. Even myself, I was like, I didn't realize like I was getting manipulated with my friends. I'm like, God, you need to do this. Like, God, I'm upset. Like, God, fix it. God, do this. And it's like, God, what is it that you want? Fix me. Help heal me.
Oh no, okay.
Help me see it from your perspective. And so we really need to be careful of how we're praying.
Going on with my mic. Can you
Oh,
hear
can you
me,
hear me?
Abigail? My
Yeah,
mic is
I
kind
can
of
hear you
acting
okay.
up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Uh-huh.
I can't hear you.
Oh.
I don't know what happened. That ain't it. Okay, say something else.
Can you hear
I
me now?
can't still hear you. I don't know what happened. Hold
Can
on
you
just
hear
a
me
second.
now?
I'm
Can
gonna
you hear
go
me
in
now?
and come back out.
I'm still here. I can't even see the comments. Oh, I'm so glad you really need to hear this. I don't know who you are. It's just saying Facebook user. I guess when we get off, I'll look at the comments and while we're waiting, if anyone has any questions, I think we're wrapping up, but I was waiting for Nora to come back in. And so, you guys have any questions for me? Shoot. Mhm.
Sorry. Oh my God.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
I'm back. Oh my goodness, that was so crazy. It took me a whole little roll around. I'm sorry, y'all. So
Hmm.
sorry, everybody. Sorry, Abigail. I don't know what happened.
Hmm.
Like Linda called me once again. I told her to stop calling me during these live chats, and she called. She might have thought we were done though. It is 8:29, so we went over a little bit, but it was okay. But I don't even remember what we were talking about. I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry, but
That's okay.
just overall, I will go back again and say I really enjoyed the whole talk. Like it was so good because I think that this is a good time for people to cut people off. And I remember reading that book, Relationship Goals, when in one chapter of the book is like when it's time to leave or when it's time to end, when a relationship needs to end. And
Mm,
it can go for friendships, can go for regular dating, marriages. Not marriage is
mm.
heavy, so I don't like to mess with
Yeah.
marriage because that's something you have to decide between your spouse. But if you
You,
know
your
life is
spouse, and God,
crazy,
y'all handle
right?
that.
Yeah, like I don't mess with people marriage. I don't mess with. I'm on my business. I sip my tea and I sit back and chill. I ain't messing with nobody marriage. That's between you and God. You only know what you can take. You already know. You got into that commitment. That's a commitment between you and God. Now, if you in that thing and that's a boyfriend, Now I'm coming for the boyfriends. I'm coming for boyfriends and ill-willing friends today. They need to be let go. Like that is no question asked. You shouldn't put yourself, subject yourself to relationships that are not healthy. That's toxic, and you don't have to be. Like
Yeah.
a marriage, like you chose that toxicity. You have to pray your way through that and go to counseling and fix that and try to do that. And like we said the first time, if it's any abuse going on, physical, you need to separate and do that stuff from a distance. You know, do that healing from a different household, different address. But as far as these friendships that y'all keep jumping into and these boyfriends that's playing husbands and all that stuff, cut it. It's time to go.
You need to
Abigail
cut
said it
it.
too. I think we can back each other up with this. Like,
Mhm.
gotta go. Like, if you didn't hear anything that we said today, that is something that you need to think upon tonight. If that relationship is toxic and it's bringing you down mentally, physically, spiritually, it's time to cut it off. You go into the new year, light for the flight. But anyway,
Yep.
I'm gonna leave it to you, Abigail. Say one more thing, and then we'll go because we already ran
No.
out of here for like a whole 5 minutes.
I'm gonna keep talking. I'm done.
Okay, you done. All right. Well, thank you, ladies. Thank y'all so much for a whole year of these live chats. We've been at it for a whole year. I hope to see y'all back next month. We're doing a vision board party on our Facebook page and through Zoom. So you guys have to sign up and RSVP for that. But I hope to see all you ladies. And thank you again, Miss Abigail, for coming in here and
Thanks for
dropping those
having me.
gems. Absolutely. All right, y'all have a good night, and I'll see you guys in 2021. Okay.